Hi folks, welcome to your very first lecture of ITE 115. Today we will be completing Word Module 1, and you can follow along in your textbook if you want, starting at page WD1. Okay, so before we start, I want to make sure you have an idea of what this project will look like when you're done. So here is a screenshot of the completed view of the flyer you're going to make. If you notice, it's a surfing flyer. It will contain a border, text with some font changes and some color changes and size changes and a picture, and that picture will have some picture formatting attached to it as well. So to begin, we're going to type some text into our document. So the very first text as part of our document. If you notice the blinking line right here, that is called my cursor, and that is where text will appear as I start to type. So I'm going to type surfs up, exclamation mark, and then I want to turn on some formatting marks to display some things. So this is under my Home tab, paragraph area. There's a little button that says Show Hide. So if I flip on that, you can see some formatting marks. Some people find these useful to have showing in a document as they're working. A formatting mark indicates where that you've pressed enter or space or any non-printing characters, which means that when you have this on, even if you printed this document right now, none of those characters will appear. So for instance, you can see right now there's a paragraph mark after the word surfs up, exclamation mark. If I hit my enter key on my keyboard, I then see another paragraph mark. So I'm going to hit that one more time. Then you also need to know that there is a zoom button down at the bottom of the screen. This button allows you to zoom in and out of your document, which is sometimes helpful. You could zoom all the way out to see the entire page of the document, or you could zoom in to see a little bit more of the document, and it'll tell you the percentage of the zoom. So next up, I've left a blank line in this document. And so underneath that blank line, I'm going to start typing my next sentence. Learn to surf or improve your form and skills on the waves through expert instruction from our award-winning surf school. Now, what's very important is you notice that there is a dot between each of the words as I was typing. That dot is not a period, it's not any symbol, it's actually just me hitting the space bar. So that lets me know there's one space between each word in this sentence. That is very helpful later on when I go to change the formatting on my document. I do want it to only have one space between each word. And then you'll also notice as I got to the word award, I continued to type. So I did not hit my enter key to go down to the next line. I just continued to type and the text wrapped down to the next line automatically. That is called word wrap. Word wrap makes it easier for you to type because you don't have to worry about pressing the enter key at the end of each line. It also makes things easier when it's time for formatting your font. If you change the size or the type of the font in the document, it will not mess up the spacing between other items in the document. You'll see that as we move on. Okay, so I just pressed my enter key and I'm on my next line. This time I'm going to type the words private or group. When I type the word group, I'm actually going to misspell it on purpose because I want to show you that when I hit my enter key, Word will automatically spell check for me. It notices that the word group is spelled incorrectly, so I get a red squiggly line underneath of it. If I right click on that red squiggly line now, it will give me a choice of words that it thinks I might mean instead. And so I meant group, so I will choose that. I'm going to type the word lessons. Oops. Then I'm going to press enter and I'm going to type the rest of my document. So photo and video packages available, enter. Reef shoes and surfboard rental included, enter. To sign up for a lesson, call 555-surf. Now that we have our text in our document, it is time to format. So to begin with, we will be centering paragraphs. So the first one is the word surfs up. In order to center this line, if I click anywhere in the text to be centered, so my cursor's in the middle, I can press the center button, which is on the Home tab, paragraph area. So I press the center and it will automatically center the text for me. And then I need to do the same thing for the bottom row. If you want, you can also highlight the row and press the center key. Either way, it works the same. Please understand that centering using the center button is very different than trying to use spaces. So I'm going to just show you what it looks like if I use the space button in order to center my words. First, I'll turn off my formatting marks. This is what my document looks like without all that code in the background. And I've had some students that like to use their space bar to center everything up. So it looks something like this. Now at first glance that looks centered, but if I turn my paragraph marks back on, you will see I'll have a line of dots that are actually spaces, which is different than if I use the center button. So down here at the bottom in this line I use the regular center button. So you can see I don't have that row of spaces. This is important because watch what happens now if I want to change the text of my document. I want to make my text bigger. Let's not make it quite that big. Let's do something like this. So I made all the text in my document bigger. Let me turn off my paragraph mark, and you can see that the bottom line stayed centered, but the top line, because I used spaces there, it actually counted each one of those as characters when it went to center, and my text is no longer centered. So instead, if I take off those space keys and I actually use the center button to center, then no matter what size my text is, it can be 11 point, it could be 36 point, that line stays centered. So very, very important and mistake that I see a lot, to use the space bar instead of the center button, and it really throws a lot of things off, so please don't do that. Okay, so now let's do a little more formatting. I'm going to select the line Surf's Up, and one way I can select a line of text is if I come over into the margin beside a line, you'll notice that my cursor changes to a right-facing arrow. And when I do that, if I click, it will select the text that is beside the arrow. And then I can either use this pop-up box to format it, or I could use my Home tab in the font area. First off, I'm going to change the size to 72. So Home tab, font area, size to 72. And then I want to change the type of font that I have. So in this case, instead of Calibri, I'm going to change it to Rockwell Extra Bold. That will draw attention to that first line of text. And then I can change the case of my selected text. This is a very handy button. In the font area, Home tab, font area, this button right here, change case button, allows me to capitalize everything, to make everything lowercase, to change it to sentence case. Here's all caps, all lowercase, back to sentence case, capitalize each word. It's a very, very handy button to use. So we're going to make everything all caps, and then we are going to apply a text effect to it. So still in the font area, there's a text effect button. You can see I have all these different options down here. So I want to make sure that I get the one that when I hover over it, that pops up and says that it is fill, white outline, accent 2, hard shadow, accent 2 effect. I'm going to click on that. Now to shade a paragraph, my insertion point needs to be in the paragraph that needs to be shaded, or it needs to be selected. And then in the paragraph area, there's a paint bucket tool. If I click on that paint bucket tool, you'll see I have a bunch of colors, but I want orange accent 2, darker 25%. And as I hover over those colors, it will pop up the exact text for the colors I need. For Sam, you must pick the exact one. So orange accent 2, darker 25%. Be very, very careful with that. If it doesn't pop up, move your cursor away and come back to it, and hopefully that will help. Now, if I want to select multiple lines of my text, so in this case, all the middle text right here, if I click, hold my mouse button down in front of the L, hold my mouse button down and drag to the end, to the other side of the D and let go, that's one way I can select the text. The other way is to get my right-facing arrow and click and drag down through each of the lines of text. Pick your favorite way, it does not matter. And in this case, I want to change the size of the text so that they are 24 point. I also want to make these middle 3 lines. I'm going to click and drag through just those 3 lines. I want to make them bulleted. So that's in the Home tab paragraph area. There's a bullet button that will put a dot in front of each of those lines of text. A very, very important button to know about is the undo and redo button up here at the top of our screen. So undo, redo, undo will be your friend. If you make a mistake, you can quickly come up here and hit the undo button and not have to worry about fixing everything. Very handy, especially if you make a mistake and don't realize that you've done that. You can undo all the way back to the last time you saved. So now we want to make a couple of our words stand out. So the word expert, I'm going to click, hold my mouse button down and drag through expert and release my mouse button. And then I want to italicize these words. So I can do it here, or I can do it on my Home tab in my font area. That will italicize those words, put them in italics. And then I also want to change the color of those of that text. So in the font area, the A with the underline is actually font color. So I will click on that, and I want orange accent to darker, 25%, same color as above, and I will choose that. Last line, I'm going to click and select it. Remember too, I showed this in the beginning, but this little button pops up, this little box right here. That's the mini toolbar. Either this toolbar or the tools up on the Home tab will work. Sometimes people find it easier to use the mini toolbar because they don't have to move very far away from their text. So let's use that to change this to be 28 points, the size of it to be 28 points. And we want to give it a notice too, as I hover over the different numbers, that it'll give me a quick preview of what it'll look like with those numbers. So that's always helpful. We call it a live preview of what you are choosing. So also going to go into the font category and choose that same color orange as before. Orange accent to darker 25%. So that whole line is that nice orange. And then I want to click off of it and select just the phone number, and I want to underline that text. So in the font area on the Home tab, it's underline. Bolding text also makes it stand out so that those words award-winning, I'm going to click and drag through them and make them bold with the B on the Home tab in the font area. Now, I want to zoom out on my document so I can see the whole page, so that as I make the next few formatting changes, I can see the entire flyer and how it impacts the entire flyer. If I go into my Design tab, this tab controls the design of the flyer. Now, right now, you'll notice on our Home tab, when we're looking at colors, either under font colors or paragraph shading, there's certain colors that are included in the theme color. So on the Design tab, if we change the theme colors, it will make our whole document look different. So I'm going to come here into Theme Colors. A theme controls the type of text, the type of color, and the type of font that you see on a document. So in this case, we're not changing the entire theme. We're just changing the color part of the theme. And we're going to choose blue. You can see I get kind of a preview of what happens for the different theme colors. But in this case, I'm going to change it to blue. So everything that was orange in that document is now blue. And if I look back on my Home tab at the color choices I have, you'll notice they're all bluish, greenish colors. So if you ever are trying to change font color and you don't have the right font color, it's not showing up correctly in this area, then chances are 99% chance that there is a problem underneath your design tab, that you have the wrong theme or the wrong theme colors chosen. So now that we have our text formatted, this is a great place to take a break and get up and move around if you are watching this lecture. I am going to break this video into 2 parts. So please, at this point, go ahead and stop this video, get up, move away from the computer for a little bit, take a nice little walk, and come back and watch part 2 of Word Module 1.